feel like grace. These monsters wear a human face. No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop Lord Chippy from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flames. Chippy's coming and he don't play games.
All right. Well, he wanted to swing too close to the sun. A woman shot her husband after he wanted to add new rules to their open marriage. Look, I'm just saying I work in true crime and I've never seen a happy open marriage. That being said, I do note the genre I'm in and that I generally see the case after the snapped episode. But I'm just going to say you're playing with fire with this one. A 55-year-old Georgia woman will spend the rest of her life behind bars for taking her husband's life, following a disagreement about her seeing other men in their open marriage. Cheryl Cole was convicted Monday of murder and aggravated assault in the death of her 48-year-old husband, Luther Luke Cole III, in Coweta County. Now, she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Coweta County Sheriff's Office responded around 3:30 p.m. on June 23rd, 2021, to the Cole home, where the defendant had called 911 after she reportedly said she shot her husband because she mistook him for an intruder. You've only been married to him for like 20 years. I was confused. Now, Cole allegedly told the police that prior to the shooting, she had consumed at least 4 or 5 Angry Orchard hard ciders. That'll do it. As her husband worked in his detached garage. She reportedly said she decided to go to bed around 7:15 p.m., Sarah Boone, but was woken roughly 10 minutes later when the bedroom door swung open. Thinking it was an intruder, she opened fire. I was just trying to protect myself, is the story she told investigators at the time. She claimed she didn't realize she had shot her husband until he reportedly said, "Cheryl, you shot me." But her story kind of fell apart almost immediately as investigators determined that her husband had suffered from a contact bullet wound, meaning that the gun was being held against his head when it was fired, not at a distance because she was napping. Cole then claimed that she shot her husband in self-defense. She reportedly said that he came storming into the room and dragged her out of bed. She said that he left the room, so she took the opportunity to grab the force multiplier from the nightstand, and that she fired a warning shot, which made the victim angry, so then she, tried again. I was just trying to hit the wall or behind the TV so it would scare him off. I wasn't really trying to hit him. But after she did, she did call 911 and did try to help paramedics render aid to her husband. He passed in the hospital. Now, investigators then discovered simmering issues within the marriage. A series of text messages in the days leading up to the shooting reportedly showed that the couple was fighting about their open marriage. Cheryl Cole asked her husband for permission to see another man later that week. Then he reportedly asked if she was planning on seeing a second man that same day, to which she responded, LOL. The victim reportedly told her that her response turned his stomach. She suggested they end their open marriage because it was causing issue, but he reportedly wanted to keep it going with more ground rules. Now, Luther Coe reportedly became more upset when he learned that his wife was talking about their issues with a friend. The defendant reiterated her self-defense claim when she took the stand at the trial. She reportedly told the jurors that he was more enraged than he's ever been at me. Ma'am, you were asking permission from your husband to go boink 2 dudes in one day. Now, far be it from me to be a marriageologist, but that could cause conflict. When she was asked why she initially told the cops that the shooting was an accident, she claimed she didn't want to tarnish her husband's reputation. Yeah, notice how the jury didn't buy this because it makes no sense. But there you go. Again, headlines that I struggled to make sense of at 3 when I thought it was 4 this morning. A daughter who crushed her mother into a garage wall with a car 2 years after she mowed down her boyfriend for breaking up with her receives her fate. Do what? Did I just read that she ran over her boyfriend 2 years prior, then took out her mother the same way, and we are all shocked? Because I'd have thought that, the boyfriend would have been the first warning sign. A 24-year-old Ohio woman will spend about 2 decades of her life behind bars after she took her mother's life when she hit her with a car and pinned her against her garage wall. Now, Anna Millette was sentenced to 21 years in prison on Tuesday for the death of 64-year-old Joyce Millette. The younger Millette was pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter. Involuntary. Was it unintentional, the foot on the gas pedal, or putting it into drive from park? I am confused. And felonious assault. Now, she was originally charged with murder. The defendant's father, Richard, asked the judge for compassion, stating that Joyce had tried to get her daughter help before she lost her life. For nearly a decade, she fought tirelessly to secure mental health care for Anna, who has long struggled with serious mental illnesses. Despite her unwavering dedication, Joyce faced insurmountable barriers, limited access to cares, systematic delays, and a patchwork of services that never amounted to sustained help for Anna. These failures contributed significantly to the tragedy that ultimately claimed Joyce's life. Joyce's death was not an act of malice, Richard went on. It was a result of an acute and devastating psychotic episode in which Anna lost touch with reality. Now, Anna did apologize, saying that her mother's death was the worst thing that's ever happened to her, and she cries daily. At the time of the events, I was not in a good space and in psychosis. This was a horrible accident. My mom didn't deserve that, and I'd do anything to get her back. But prosecutors did note that she voluntarily stopped taking her prescribed medication and was on probation at the time for running over her ex-boyfriend. The judge agreed, saying that Millette knew the repercussions of not taking her own medication. She was aware of what could happen, the judge reportedly said. Now, Law and Crime previously reported that police in Miami Township, a suburb of Cincinnati, responded on June 15th, 2024, to a home on Deer Haven Court for a disturbance between a mother and a daughter. Now, when they arrived, they found Joyce pinned up against the wall of a garage by a car, the car still running, with the horn blaring, had been driven at full speed toward the wall. Now, two officers found Anna in the driver's seat. They tried to remove her from the car so they could get to the victim, and she fought with them. Also, she tried to slam the car into reverse, trying to run over one of the officers. She sped out of the driveway, causing a police chase, which eventually ended on I-275 near Loveland. Now, she was able to get into custody because the cops had to tase her. First responders then took her to the hospital, while Joyce was also rushed to the hospital, but unfortunately the doctors could not take care of such severe crush injuries. Now, Miami Township officers responded to the home, to a home in a similar area in 2022 after a man had been struck by a car. When police arrived, they found a 19-year-old man bleeding profusely from his head he was there to file a criminal complaint. Anna had run him over because he had broke up with her. So why was she on probation if the state knew that she was not to be trusted she couldn't regulate her emotions to the point that a breakup caused her to try to run someone over? Why was she given probation for that? So this does seem like it's a very similar pattern to what happened with her ex-boyfriend, and I am shocked that she was allowed to come back in or just get probation for that very serious offense, which then led to she and her mother being together and allowed this death to happen. So it's just insane. In my final story, and ma'am, you may go straight to the depths of Hades, where you will be tortured by Zydeco music and recorder recitals every minute of the rest of your life. A daycare worker used an 18-pound weighted blanket to immobilize a 3-year-old. Now, it did suffocate him, and for those of you who haven't gotten a weighted blanket, I love a weighted blanket. I did before I got hurt. I can't tolerate the pressure so much on my leg, but before that, I got a weighted blanket, and weighted blankets go kind of on a sliding scale. You can get a heavier weighted blanket if you have a heavier weight, if you are heavier. So weighted blankets for children. So, and some, I even made a place like a little lap blanket for youngest, most feral, because it's supposed to help with ADHD and kind of grounding you. Those are only supposed to be like half a pound, 2 pounds maybe. They are not supposed to be these. An 18-pound weighted blanket would be for like a 200-pound person. It's generally about 10% of your body weight. My husband hates, I tried to get one for my husband. He hated it. So oddly enough, my youngest, most feral loved mine, but I had to lock it away because mine was built for my body weight ratio. And I was really nervous because it was a heavier weight, him using it. A 40-year-old daycare worker in Missouri has been arrested and accused of suffocating a 3-year-old boy to death, allegedly binding his arms and covering him with a weighted blanket that weighed more than 18 pounds. Tiffany Hendrick was indicted by grand jury in St. Francois County last week on one count each of abuse or neglect of a child resulting in death, armed criminal action, and second-degree murder. Now, according to the indictment, Hendrick was responsible for the care of Conrad Ashcraft. Now, basically what she did was she placed Conrad face down, under a weighted blanket with his arms either immobilized or somehow pinned so he couldn't use even his arms to push himself up. So he was head down, which is not how you're supposed to have any child because it can cause suffocation. Or face down, sorry, not head down, but face down. Now, the document goes on to state that Conrad lost his life due to asphyxiation, basically by smothering. Now, the armed criminal action charge stems from the fact that she used a weighted blanket to cause the death. Now, a wrongful death lawsuit was filed against Hendrick in May by Conrad's father and provides additional allegations surrounding the boy's tragic death. Now, the daycare, Poppy's Playhouse 2, is also the subject of a civil lawsuit in relation to this event. Now, the suit claims that Hendrick put Conrad on his back while tucking the sides of his personal blankets under his arms, or under his body, trapping his arms, then flipped him to his stomach because he was struggling. Now, after forcing him on his stomach, she, again, really tightened that burrito wrap light blanket, then covered him with that 18.2-pound weighted blanket over his face. Ma'am, you are so lucky you are in prison, right? Because directly into the sun for you. I have no words, the evil this is. Now, the incident occurred on Friday, May 16th, which this is actually a relatively quick sort of turnaround for this. So as much as this is incredibly tragic, the wheels of justice are actually working quite swiftly here. Now, we do know that it's going to be probably another year before this trial comes around, but for her to be indicted, this one pissed a lot of people off, I'm pretty sure, because there's not a lot that motivates, cops and the judicial system like a kid getting hurt or something like this happening. Now, the owner of the daycare, Park Hills Ward 2 councilwoman Spring Gray, stepped down from her role on the council after Conrad's death. Now, the civil suit further alleged that the daycare was negligent to such a degree that none of the employees working at the daycare realized that Conrad, was being suffocated, could be suffocated, or that he had passed away. On information and belief, Conrad was dead and remained laying on the floor of the defendant's facility for hours without any effort to, kind of determine his well-being. No one checked on him. Now, Conrad's family also provided additional details in an interview with St. Louis NBC affiliate KSDK. Lacey Hardy, Conrad's aunt, told the station that her nephew was nonverbal with autism, and it was a nightmare to think that the toddler was in pain but unable to vocalize his need for help. Now, regarding the amount of time that Conrad's well-being was allegedly ignored, Hardley told the kids to take nap time at around 12:30 p.m., but when his mother had arrived at 4:15 p.m., he hadn't been checked on or moved since that 12:30 kind of nap time block that the mother was told about. Now, Hendrik, for her own safety, after I've read this story allegedly in Minecraft, is being held in the St. Francis County Jail without bond. She will be reappearing in court on August the 22nd. So, yeah, I hope Gen Pop just takes care of this, because I am not in the mood.